What's up, everybody? Sorry I haven't uploaded in so long. College is just kind of sitting me down and spanked my ass, and I just haven't really been feeling like making videos lately, so sorry about it, but we're back. I have been getting a lot of questions and comments, like a lot. Like, it's crazy how much you guys have been responding to my last videos, so from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys. It's been crazy. I'm trying to respond to all of them, but most of them have been, I'm getting 80s, 90s, hundreds in grid shot, absolutely taking a shit on these little floating circles, but my aim in game is an embarrassment to humanity. It's absolutely atrocious. I want to die. What do I do? So today I'm going to try to help you guys fix that. I'm going to help you overcome a plateau. And a plateau is basically when no matter how much you grind, no matter what you do, you just can't seem to make any improvements. So we're going to try to overcome that today. These won't be 100% applicable to everybody, but you can obviously modify these as you see fit to best fit your time, your play style, what have you. Everything that we're going to be talking about today is going to be Valorant specific. Everything can be done in Valorant. You're not going to need Kovacs, aim labs, any of those aim trainers. If you guys are interested in those and want to see how to use them properly, go check out my last two videos. Links to those will be in the description. But everything that we're talking about is going to be in-game in Valorant. These will technically apply to CS as well, but if you're trying to get better at CS, I don't know why you're watching my video. Like, fuck are you doing? All right, anyways, let's get into this shit. Now, the first and the hardest part of all of this, in my opinion, is going to be identifying your problem. Most people are going to blame it on their aim or their movement. Like, oh, my aim is garbage, so I can't climb the ranks. Or, oh, my movement's trash, so I just keep on getting caught out. But usually it's not that simple, right? There's a lot of factors that can lead you underperforming in games. Could be movement, could be aim. That's true. Could be game sense, positioning, crosshair placement. There's tons of things that can lead to you underperforming. So the biggest thing that you have to do, and you have to do this constantly, is ask yourself what you're doing right or wrong. And you can't just be like passively thinking, oh, that was probably a bad play, whatever. No, you have to consciously ask yourself, what did I do wrong there? Why did I die? Was I unlucky? Did I get caught out? Was my aim bad? Was my positioning bad? Was my crosshair placement off? You have to ask yourself, why did I die? And same thing goes for if you make a good play. What made it so that you could do what you did? Why did your play work out how it did? You have to ask yourself what you're doing right and wrong constantly and consciously. And I cannot emphasize that enough. You have to be thinking. You have to use your monkey brain. And I know that's going to be hard for a lot of you with your goopy goblin gamer brains, your fucking little monkey brains. You have to consciously ask yourself what you're doing wrong. That's the biggest key factor here. Now, the thing is, this step never really stops. Like, you've probably seen it in a lot of pro gameplay or streamers, content creators. When they die, they're like, oh, if I had done this, we probably would have won. And it might not sound like it, but that is them critiquing themselves, saying, I should have done this. This is the play. I should have done better. This is how you do better, right? That's them using this thought process to improve themselves in the future. When they encounter that scenario again, they'll know what to do and they'll do it correctly. All right. So now let's say you figured out one of your problems, because let's be honest, you're not going to just have one. There's going to be a couple of them. But let's say that you figured out one of your problems. What do you do now? So there's a lot of tools in Valorant, namely the range, that can help a lot with a lot of different things. Now, everybody knows about the bots in the range. It's like aim labs built in. You just go in there and you pop heads. Yeah, it works. That's true. It works. But most of the time in game, you're not going to be standing in one spot with enemies popping up out of thin air in like a cone around you in your vision trying to tap heads. That's not how the game works. So there are two main features of the range that I use a lot to help myself improve. And that's going to be the parkour course and the spike defusal scenario. Now, these are two very different tools to help you accomplish two very different tasks, right? So obviously the parkour course is all about movement, right? It's going to help you get a better understanding, a better grasp on the just innate movement mechanics of Valorant. And it helps a lot because a lot of the jumps in that parkour course are damn near impossible unless you know what the hell you're doing, right? But the spike defusal scenario is where I think the range really shines. I think it's a completely underrated task. It helps you train your aim, crosshair placement, your movement, kind of, and just your overall game sense. And I'll show you why in just a second. Now, all of these tools are great, but you have to know how to use them properly, as with any tool. going to start out with the bot killing scenario that everybody uses. Now, this can be a really, really good tool to train your flicks, and that's about it. But you have to use it properly. As you can see in this clip, every time that I get a kill, or don't, every time that I take a shot, I move my crosshair back to center. That is so my anchor point is always the same, so I'm training my flick in the same way every single time. This is pretty much the only way that you should be using this scenario. You shouldn't just be hovering over where you got the kill. You need to bring it back to center and just keep going back and forth. Now, there is one more way that you can use the skills test or this bot shooting challenge. It's a little bit more advanced though. It's to constantly be tapping A and D, jiggle peeking basically, jiggling back and forth, and just trying to time out your shots with the bots. This is a very hard task to do. I struggle with it a lot, and I'm an immortal, so if you're trying to improve, this probably isn't going to be something that you want to be focusing all of your time on, but it could definitely help you out if you struggle with jiggle peeks. But the real jiggle peek mastery comes from the practice button under the skills test, where you just spawn all the bots in on the range. I prefer to use Sage for this, so I'll place down a wall. As you can see, I'll just keep jiggling the right side of it, keep taking out bots, like panning over to the left side, and I'll go to the other side of the wall and do the same thing. Of course, you can also use this pole in the back over here to do the same thing. It's just as effective, if not more effective. You just have to be sure that you're, jiggling around the pole instead of just, being out in the open like I am right now, just taking shots. Now, the parkour course doesn't need too much explaining. Obviously, you just want to try to run through the full course. It is extremely effective at improving your movement if you try to take these sections really fast. Obviously, the faster you do them, the more efficient you'll be, the better your movement will be. But besides that, there's not really all that much to explain. Just run the course, try your best, see what you get. Now for the main course, the spike defusal scenario. This is so underrated. This is one of the best tools the range has to offer. This will help you work on your jiggle peeks, your movement, your aim, game sense, all of it. Now, I recommend using hard bots. At first, it's going to seem impossible, but after a while, it's going to get really easy. After a while, it should get a little bit easier, hopefully. If it does, that means you're obviously improving. But just run through this a few times every day before you go into your deathmatch or before you go aim train or whatever, and you should see some noticeable improvements. This is a very underrated task. Alright, so let's say mechanics aren't your problem. Maybe it's game sense, maybe it's tilt. What can you do then? Well, a lot of people are going to tell you to VOD review, which isn't a bad idea, but the problem is at the lower ranks, it doesn't really work. Because the problem is, unless you have somebody who knows the game more than you do telling you what you're doing wrong, you're not going to see your own mistakes, right? If you're in silver, you have the mindset of a silver. You're going to make the plays of a silver, and looking at them is not going to change that, right? I mean, maybe you can say, hey, I died there because I overpeaked or something, but you're not going to notice why a play worked or why a play didn't work as well. Now, that's not the case for all people. Some people might do things in the heat of the moment and then come back later, review them, and be like, all right, never do that again. And they maybe can commit to that. But for a lot of people, it's gonna be something that you don't really control. You're not gonna be, doing calculus in your head when you're playing the game, right? You're not gonna be doing all the calculations and remembering every single video you've ever watched, being like, oh, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. So what can you do? Watching pro players is never a bad idea. I do it all the time, sometimes even just for fun. But if you're trying to rank up and you're watching pro players, try to pay a little bit more attention to what they're actually doing. And I'm not saying copy their playstyle verbatim, right? Because a lot of Diamond, Immortal, Radiant plays just straight up won't work in Silver. People down there don't fall for the baits. They don't understand the intricacies of a double flash TP play or whatever the fuck you want to do. But, try to implement some of their stuff into your playstyle. Another great thing that you can do if you're really nerdy like me is take notes. There's a few apps that actually allow you to take notes in-game. The one that I used was called Insights Capture. We'll have a link to that down below as well. And whenever you die, you just press a little hotkey and it pulls up a note. And you can just say, oh, I died because I overpeaked there. And it's different from a VOD review because you know exactly why you died in that moment, or at least if you think about it, you will. And writing it down commits it to memory a lot better than just passively thinking about it as you're watching a video. Now for the biggest rank killer, tilt. Tilt is the undoing of all Valorant players, whether that be silvers, diamonds, immortals, pro players. Tilt fucks everyone. So how do you combat that? Well, unless you're Buddha himself, you're not really going to be able to stop tilt. The only real way to conceivably fix a tilt problem is to take a break. Now, there's a popular clip that went around of 10 saying only play a few games a day, and I couldn't agree more. 4 to 5 games a day on your main account max. For me, I play maybe 3, 4, sometimes 5 if I'm really feeling it, 6 or 7 games on my main account in a day. If I'm going to play any more Valorant at all, if I'm not already tilted out of my fucking mind by then I'll just play the rest of the games on an alt account and just try to have fun with it. I don't want to make the video too long, so this is pretty much going to be all I have for you guys today. If you're interested in hearing more from me, if any of this helped you at all, be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you want to see. Plan to start uploading more regularly. I also made a TikTok. I know, I'm sunken so low. Save me. But that'll also be in the description below. So with all of that out of the way, I hope you guys enjoyed. Grind those ranks, get up there, and I'll see you in the game. Peace.